I'll play something slow first. Even as a young pianist, I enjoyed improvising much more than, quote, practicing. When I was a kid, I would improvise in the style of the music that I heard, which was mostly classical music. So I would play kind of mock Mozart or something like that. And nobody told me that it was weird. So I went to the New England Conservatory in Boston, where one of my piano idols, Jackie Byard, was teaching. I had 2 years there and had all kinds of amazing musical experiences. A week after I graduated in 1977, I was living on 11th Street and University Place in the Village, and was determined to make my way as a jazz musician and to play with the greatest players in the world. Actually, one of the things that attracted me to the music was not just what was on the bandstand, but what was surrounding it. The jazz fans who came out to the gigs, and kind of kooky people, and the fact that it was colorblind and age blind. We all had this thing that we loved. And if you could play, if you were gifted and respectful and could play, you could be part of the club. My early days in New York, I could hobnob with all my heroes. I could hang out with them. There was a part of it that was a little more rough and tumble that I really related to. You know, as I began to become more professional in New York in the late 70s and early 80s, yes, I was a member of the club. I was sort of a hotshot, young sideman pianist around town, but I felt like I couldn't quite be a full member of the club because of my being gay. I made my first album on my own right around the age of 30, trio album, and that was right around the time I got diagnosed with HIV. So that happened, both of those happened in about 1985. And I think my motivation during that first 10 years, you know, when there was no medicine you could take, it was more of a death sentence. I think my motivation during those years was to try to leave behind some recorded legacy so that maybe I wouldn't be forgotten. And I recorded fairly prolifically, but it was always with this cloud hanging over me. There was a lot of drama, a lot of times where I felt sick, but I just kept going. I figured, well, if it's November and I have a gig in March, I gotta stay alive. And it just kind of kept going to the next thing. And I came out as a gay jazz musician who was dealing with HIV. And many people said, don't do that, you're gonna kill your career. You know, people won't book you for the next year because you might be dead. And my feeling was, if I only have a limited time on the planet, and that was 1992, that was possible, that I was not gonna live that long. I thought, well, if I can be a bit of a role model for people who are dealing with HIV, to me, if I'm going to be the artist that I would like to be, I can't compartmentalize as I'd been doing. And, you know, I was tired, frankly, of worrying who knew, who didn't know, what they thought, what they didn't think. You know, I just said, okay, here it is. And it turned into quite a big media event, you know, Newsweek, CNN, jazz magazines, you know, gay magazines. It was a big thing.
Hersch learned he was HIV positive 8 years ago, and he has learned to deal with the threat of AIDS.
Visible performing artists were really not talking about it. And that's something that I call being an accidental activist. I didn't expect to do that, but it just, there it was. I felt like this is what I have to do. In 2007, I had a really brutal European tour. And at that time, I was having trouble swallowing and eating. I was very thin, about 110 or 12 pounds. It really just knocked the crap out of me. My doctor did what people were doing there, which is what they call STI, strategic therapeutic interruption, which is, we also used to call it a drug holiday. He said, look, just take a couple weeks off and see if we can get your appetite, your strength back. And as it happened, that created an opportunity for the virus to get inside my brain. And by New Year's Day, 2007, I had full-blown AIDS-related dementia. I mean, I was really nuts. And it took 3 months for the HIV medications to bring my viral load down and for me to kind of restore my health and sanity. The night that it all happened, I was feeling feverish, so I took kind of a cool bath. I was in the bathtub, and I could not physically get myself out of the bathtub. The next morning, I was taken to the ER, and they ended up inducing a coma, figuring that, okay, he's in septic shock, his organs are failing, he's got multiple infections, we're gonna knock him out and bring him around in 10 days, which is kind of normal for that kind of thing. And it became 2 months. Came out in August of 2008, basically unable to speak, unable to walk, unable to use my hands, unable to swallow. My right vocal cord was paralyzed. I basically woke up and my whole life, as I knew it, was taken away from me. But after coming out of the coma, I really wanted to live, and I had to work really hard. Physical therapy 4 days a week, swallow therapy 3 days a week, dealing with feeding tube. I really wanted to get back to my life sort of as I had before. In October of 2008, I went back into the hospital with another pneumonia, and I got out on a Saturday in mid-October, and it was a beautiful day. I had some crazy energy, I don't know why, and I looked at the computer. I noticed that Smalls, it said Monday night TBD. So I reached the owner and I said, can I play Monday night, a trio set? Of course, everybody was aware of how sick I'd been. So I rustled up a rhythm section and played probably the most emotional set of music of my life.
With the other set, I'd like to play just a little 3-minute piece, solo piece called Valentine.
All right.
My mother happened to be in town. She and Scott were very nervous for me. They thought, you know, if I fail, it's going to be really a huge step back. And it was really a love fest, you know. The two most emotional performances of my life, that was one, and the other was the world premiere of my Coma Dreams in 2011, which is a large, we call it jazz theater piece, that are based on 8 dreams that I vividly remembered after I got out of my coma. The idea of taking this horrible thing that had happened to me and turning it into something that was art, you know, it was really very cathartic. You know, it was overwhelming actually, because there I was playing the piano, and I shouldn't have even been there. I'm playing the piano, somebody standing there is portraying me. All this music that I've written, which I also should not have been, by all rights, alive to write, was happening. It was just overwhelming, and also very gratifying, you know, to feel like I did something with this, you know, with the help of a lot of people. And I realized I need this. You know, the communal idea of being taken somewhere by an artist is something that we took for granted. And now people don't take that for granted as much. So there's that part of the healing too, of being around other people with a shared experience in a live setting that I think is really powerful and beautiful. I mean, I'm 67. I hope to be playing for another 15 years, You know, there's no reason that I can't. The only reason I would stop is if I felt like I couldn't give a good performance anymore. Feeling better about my playing, less controlling, more forgiving. You know, if I play a chord I don't like, I'm not going to die, nobody's going to die. It's just, okay, it is what it is. If I play a show and one person comes up to me and say, I was really moved, or you really took me somewhere, or I wept when you played that piece, that's all I need.